Hi, I'm Kevin, and this is Novel to You. I'm an author here in Tokyo, and I read my novels so that you can listen to them when you're doing the dishes, doing the laundry, cutting the lawn, taking a shower. Maybe not taking a shower, but when you have a bit of time on the commute, right? All my books come in these very cool suede book sleeves. The one we're doing today, picking up from yesterday, is called Taemane. Taemane means diamond in Bantu, and this is set in a diamond mine in 1950s South Africa. I'll just read one of the sentences off the back blurb of the book. Greed, jealousy, arrogance, and honor make a sordid cocktail in this battle for hope and love. This is episode 7, and we're picking up in the middle of chapter 7. Here we go. Hope you enjoy it. The big table, resolute and imposing, stood in the white dining room surrounded by the high-backed mahogany chairs. The three of them sat at one end of the table like the old days. Claire, reminiscent of a praying mantis, wore a plain blue cotton dress with a tight white collar. Her slender neck, topped with a bun of blonde hair, enhanced her insect-like appearance. Kate, however, in her typical exuberance, wore a low-cut red and white striped corseted dress, revealing her shapely body and the fullness of her now mature figure. She obviously hoped to bump into Alex at some point in the evening. The meal had been an absolute delight for the old man, and he basked in their presence. Kate had regaled the two of them with stories of her professors and friends, creating no end of laughter and coughing fits from the old man. Mary cleared the plates to the serving tray. Carl laid his hand on Mary's forearm as she reached for his plate. "It's been marvelous, Mary. It's been too long since you spoiled us like this." "Oh, it's not my doing. Dr. Villers has said it is okay occasionally, but too much rich food—" "Well, don't mention Villers' name, especially before the possibility of a dessert." They laughed at the crafty old man. As Mary reached for her empty plate, Kate stood automatically to help Mary clear all the plates. It was a simple action that went unnoticed by the old man, but Claire was appalled. She scowled at Kate, but the younger sister, eager for some time alone with her second mum, smiled back and continued to the kitchen with an armful of plates. "Papa," she called from the kitchen entrance, "he can't be all that bad. If he was quack, the man is a total quack. He would have me laid up in bed all day." "Good God," Claire ribbed him. "What, with no gin and no cigars?" Kate returned from the kitchen with a tone of mock anger. "You're still not smoking, are you, Papa? You said you would quit." "Well, I've cut down." Claire wagged a scornful finger at him. She wouldn't let him rest. "If you did as he said, if you listened to him—" I do. You can't expect a man to give up everything over a little cough. I've done most of what he said. Haven't I, Mary?" He looked across to Mary, who had just entered from the kitchen. Mary scowled back at him. He saw he would obviously get no assistance from her. "Mary, you needn't not answer that. That's fine." Mary placed the dessert on the table. The old man whistled softly and smiled at the stern black face. Mary had made his favorite, lemon meringue pie. It had been years since he had been allowed one. The old man's eyes lit up at the treat, and he snatched a nearby fork. "Just a small piece for Tiny here. He's supposed to watch his weight," Claire said. They all watched the portioning of the cake, with Carl observing every slice. Mary brought a slice to Kate. Kate asked Mary quietly, "Will he be around later?" "Yes, Katie," he asked. "If it's Alex you're whispering about, I sent him on an errand tonight," Claire pronounced coldly. "He has been told not to come around the house. You're a lady now, and ladies choose their friends wisely." "I'll do whatever I please, Claire." "He's been told. It's a bad example for the others." The old man slammed his fork on the table. "Stop it!" He glared directly at Claire. Don't you ruin my night." He turned back to Mary. "Mary, your boy is forever between these two. I've I've had it." He whipped back and pointed his fork at Claire. He decided to be firm but conciliatory with his eldest daughter. "Claire, now you listen to me. Alex can read and write. I've seen his letters, and he is still shut up when your father is speaking to you. He also does the accounts for the church and some of the ranches. He's good at mathematics, accounting, that sort of thing." "What? He never mentioned it to me in his letters." Kate looked up at Mary, but was silenced by a wave from Carl's fork. "He even teaches the children at the church, blacks and whites. Now you listen. We can use him in the mine office. I've decided he starts there next week." "What? You've decided? Do you have a problem with me making decisions about my own business, young lady?" Well, I just what? I'm not dead yet. I run this mine, and I'll be damned if you..." A fit of coughing turned him a deep burgundy as he struggled for breath. The three women rushed to his side to calm him. He pointed upstairs, and Mary wrapped her massive arm around him and directed him to the stairs. I've got him. I'll put him to bed," Mary said, leading the old man from the room. Claire whispered in Mary's ear, "You know what I've said." The old man whipped around, coughing and spewing. "No, damn you! As I said, he starts in the office. You take it or you leave, Claire. You leave." His body erupted in another bout of coughing. Mary spun him away toward the stairs. Claire returned quietly to the table. Her eyes were iced and struggled to maintain control over her temper. Kate watched as her father and Mary ascended the stairs. It was a gradual, arduous climb. They were very close. He hasn't much time, she thought. It was best if she let Mary handle the old man. She turned to Claire, who sat eating her dessert, as if nothing had happened. Claire raised her head and looked directly at Claire. Claire's eyes didn't avert in embarrassment. Instead, they challenged Kate. Nothing has changed. If eyes could sneer and spit, then it was a quality her older sister had acquired. The laughter and sisterly kindness had evaporated, gone into the jealous, vehement bitterness that was Claire. It had been a pleasant, almost wonderful few hours. It held hope, but that was shattered now. Kate grabbed her plate and moved to the kitchen. She sat alone, eating her dessert, knowing Claire was in the other room. The kitchen, to Kate, was like an old friend. The central prep table was reassuring, a place where she had sat and baked with Mary, making cookies for her dad and George. So many times Alex and her were told off by Mary for doing naughty things. They were made to sit side by side on the bench seat and wouldn't dare to glance up at the huge, scowling woman when they'd been bad. In those days, the table had seemed so immense, a wall of strength and reassurance, something that would survive forever. Now, though, it was meek and old, a dwindling sadness, as if all the memories were discounted. She smoothed the worn crevices of the table, where Mary used to tell stories of her mother. Kate wondered if you could miss someone you never met. She had such happy times in the kitchen, but never with her older sister. Did she even have a sister? Who was that snake in the other room? It wasn't right for Kate to think of her own sister like that. Claire had been helping run the mine for years, while Kate had been in school. Still, Kate didn't know her, and didn't want to. Seated at the oak table near the sink full of dishes, she waited impatiently for Mary to return so she could find out more about Alex. She pushed the dessert around the bowl. Why did their meals usually end like this? So many times she preferred to eat with Mary and Alex rather than endure the baiting of that jealous stick. She washed the dishes to save Mary having to do it. Claire sat at the grand mahogany table, imperiously alone. Her countenance swirled with brooding thoughts. The laughter and pleasantness of the evening splintered again by that black, sweaty miner. Anger, like a foul smoke, clouded the corner of her thoughts. If only she could find a man of her own. Dishes clattered in the kitchen. It would be that silly little bitch doing the maid's work. 4 years in a boarding school, and she comes home to do the servant's duties? This a stupid girl. Their mother would be so ashamed. How could he command her? Her father or not? She did most of the work in the office. He only came down for 4 or 5 hours a day. Was working in the mine all she would ever do? She needed a decent man, someone to take to bed. They were rare out here, and any city boys were too pathetic to even consider. She wolfed down the last bite and dropped the spoon noisily on the bowl. Perhaps that serving girl, Kate, would like to come and clear it. She looked up at her mother's portrait. A sigh of exasperation melted her brooding thoughts. She was tired of being bitter. She drifted across to the side table and picked up a large snifter. Claire poured a large brandy before going upstairs to read. Chapter 8. Alex held his watch at an angle, tilting it in the moonlight to see the time. It was near 10. He had been early, ridiculously early. He drove like mad from Matombwa to be sure not to miss her. He had been waiting an hour. He didn't mind waiting. He would always wait for her. His fingers toyed with the petals on the small bouquet. It wasn't much. The package was delicately wrapped. He had tried 3 times before the laughter bellowing from his mother forced him to beg her to do it. That kind of intricate folding was for insect fingers, definitely not his. Mary had made it special, with a ribbon and a bow. Alex was amazed how much care she took. It was only a small gift, nowhere near the size of his passion. But he was proud of it. He had gone with his cousin's wife, Taemane, to select it. Women, they knew about these things. Taemane had been shocked at how much he spent. In truth, it was a month's salary. But if Kate liked it, that would be a small price. But would she? The thought of his being a minor constantly chewed at his confidence. Even with the extra income from the accounting, he was still on a meager salary. Everywhere he turned, it was as if someone was hoping to pull the legs from under his dream. But even so, they could still be friends. Would that be enough for him? No. He groaned and gritted his teeth. He looked up at the half moon. It was a clear night, and he tried to imagine her name in the stars. If you linked enough of them... And then there was Claire. Like a putrid smoke, her snarling face drifted across the stars. She burned his letter. Bitch. He hoped his mother had got the message to Kate. He could have strangled that skinny little witch when his mother told him. Then she sent him off for no reason, driving all the way to Matombwa for new drill bits when there was a supply truck due next week. It could have waited. But he had made it back in time. The trip was a bit reckless, but George understood, and he let Alex drive. If George had driven, they wouldn't have made it back before sunrise. A flash of light caught his eye in the distance. A falling star. Impossible. It was too low. He strained his eyes into the blue blackness, searching for the spark. He saw it again, briefly. Someone was swinging a torch as they walked through the bush. He stood to check his bearings. The mine was behind him. The main gates were a short distance back and to the left, so the lights must be outside the perimeter, on the far side. That was strange, because most workers are gone during the shift change and return late tomorrow afternoon. Who in his right mind walks in the open bush at night? It dawned on him from the location that it must be near the anthill. He left the flowers and package on Kate's favorite rock. He crept swiftly toward the jagged rock outcropping, toward the vantage point he'd found before. He scampered a few hundred yards, stumbling several times, but arrived unnoticed at the vantage point. Concealed by the brush, he waited for the figures to appear in the moonlight. Kate peered into the darkness from the second gate, located inside the perimeter fence. She leaned against the massive support post. It had been there longer than she'd been alive. Insects buzzed under the single bulb and umbrella-like hat that spluttered a faint yellow glow into the night. It proudly illuminated her father's sign. Her eyes stretched into the night, hoping to see Alex. She was anxious about walking into the perimeter area at night. She'd never done it before. Large animals never came into the area, but that didn't make it any less frightening. Why doesn't he wave or come over? She could almost see the rock. It was only a few hundred steps. Maybe he was there asleep, and she could surprise him. She knew he was back because she'd seen George. Her feet shuffled forward. She kicked a lump of wood near the base of the post. It could be handy. She picked it up. The sense of weight gave her a tinge of reassurance, and she walked into the night. She still wore her striped red dress. Kate had planned for days before she left what she would wear on this first meeting. She was desperate to impress him and to impress Mary. Kate wanted Mary to see her as suitable, a full woman, not just a child sweetheart. She wasn't black, and she wasn't strong like other women in the compound, and she couldn't cook, but she wanted Mary's son. She was desperate to win him somehow, and she wanted Mary to approve. She hoped that cleaning the kitchen will have helped sway Mary even a little bit, but then, as a child, she had always helped her anyway. The spill from the torch reflected off the top of the anthill. Alice could see the boots of two of the men, while the others appeared to have sandals. One of the men had white legs. The others were blacks. The sand below them seemed to shimmer in the torchlight. Alex could just hear their voices drift across the still night air. Nick reached down and brushed his legs clean of the outraged swarms of ants. "Christ! Why'd you have to hide the goddamn things in here?" The ants were crawling up into his shorts. The last thing he wanted was them nipping at his balls. One of the men laughed as he slid the top of the anthill to one side. "If you wouldn't look in here, then no one would. The little bastards are everywhere. Hurry up for Christ's sake," Nick growled. The torch ripped up, and Alex glimpsed the white powdery cone of the anthill, but couldn't make out the men's faces. He had to find out who that white man was. Kate left the road and skipped the short distance over to the flat, table-like rock. She walked around hoping to find Alex, but there was nothing. Her hand brushed across the rock, bumping the small package and flowers. She picked them up, knowing they were for her. Alex watched the four shadows as they flicked and shook the ants from their skin. A big dog appeared at the foot of the white man and focused directly at the bush Alex crouched behind. It was a Doberman. It barked out into the night. Nick cuffed it across the head. "Shut up, you stupid mutt!" Kate heard the bark of the dog and jumped. Her strength vacillated and she scurried back to the road. Wild dogs could get through the perimeter fence. They'd had problems years before. She clutched her gift to her chest as her skin tingled with fear and excitement. Puffs of dust kicked up from her heels as she hurried back to the safety of the big house. She would see him tomorrow at church. Her heart thumped in her ears, not with fear, but with anticipation. She will crawl into bed tonight and open her gift. She laughed at her own excitement. She was 18 and thought she was like a child dashing down for Christmas. She'd see him tomorrow and hold his present all night. She would make herself as beautiful as possible tomorrow. Alex could see the dog clearly and knew he would never outrun it. He tried to identify the men, but their faces were in shadow. He could see their rifles and a shovel. Alone, he had no chance against the dog and the guns. The Doberman shuffled its feet, ready to explode. Alex moved away a few paces and struggled to listen to the men. Nick crouched down beside the primed beast. "What is it, Duke? Someone there?" The dog sensed Alex had moved off, relaxed, and licked Nick's face. "Ah, you daft bastard!" He ruffled the beast's ears. "Have you got it yet? Let's get away from these bloody ants." "I got them. We'll weigh them, and then your eyes will fall out." "Yeah, right. Like yours, eh, One Eye?" They slid the top back into place and moved away from the writhing, angry carpet of ants at their feet. Alex returned to the rock, but didn't find Kate. His breath grew shallow. Did he miss her? Did she not come? Did she not wait? Maybe she wasn't interested. But in her letters, she seemed... Where were his flowers? The package. It was gone. She had come. Yes. He would see her at church tomorrow. And that's the end of chapter 8. Thanks for joining me. Things are getting up. We've got some smugglers. Taemane. It's a romance set in Africa. If you'd like to get it, you can get it online at Amazon or off my website. Details down below. But thanks for joining me, and we'll see you next time. Thanks for now.